Everyone turned into a pebble. And they can't speak. What's this?
Remnants of the mining operation.
What, mine?
Remember, I told you yesterday. There was a mine here, but it closed down 20 years ago.
I know, Edward. I was just checking for a sense of humor. Still nowhere to be found.
Betty would have taken plenty of constitutionals here. She loves the outdoors.
How so? She's a city girl.
I'm sure she gets tired of Manhattan. And when she was little, she loved playing in the garden back in Hanover, especially around the pond.
Are you all right?
I just miss her.
Where do these tracks lead?
To the mine. Where else would they go?
I don't know. A castle up in the mountains, where the frost giants live. And this is how they receive their monthly offering of meat from the villagers. Goat, I hope. What did they use this for?
Bringing the ore down from the mine before it was loaded onto boats.
So, diamonds? Gold? Or just boring old silver?
Iron ore.
Or what?
Rock, which contains iron
I know.
deposits that...
Okay, Edward. I don't understand why they just leave this here. Like an altar to adversity. It's creepy.
Rustic superstition. Perhaps they believed they'd attract bad luck if they moved it. Til minne om. It's a memorial. 3 men died when the mine collapsed in 1902. Georg Hatlestad, Niels Frambu, Arne Fretland.
See, this is what working a regular job. Did you say Fretland?
The younger brother who was mentioned in the article. The newspaper said the accident forced the mine to shut down.
What does any of this have to do with us?
I still don't know why Elizabeth came here.
And you think it has something to do with this mine?
Or with what it did to the village. Maybe. He was just 19.
How long had he been working in the mine? That's too young for a dirty job like digging into rock.
We're in the real world, Lissy. Most teeners don't have the luxury to idle away their days with games and witty repartee.
Ouch. Boat! Teddy! Hot dog! This is our ticket out of here!
Not without Betty. Besides, the woods rotted through. This boat isn't seaworthy. It's curious. The state of the boats. It's like they stopped taking care of them.
Seems short-sighted. How would they fish? Or get anywhere at all?
There's no damage to the rope.
I don't know what that means.
Nobody cut it. I guess the knot could have unraveled on its own.
Didn't you say you used a sailor's knot?
I'm a scholar, not a fisherman.
So who took our boat? A ghost?
I believe the tide took our boat.
If you say so. But then who were you chasing after last night? A ghost?
I don't know. It was probably all in my head. You'd have thought someone would have seen us by now.
Even from up in the mountains. Maybe there was a spell or curse that made them all invisible.
Honestly, Lissy.
Or maybe we are the invisible ones. But then we would see them, wouldn't we? No, I think my original thesis is more likely.
The villagers turning invisible is the more likely thesis.
Do try to keep an open mind, Edward, darling.
The weather is favorable today.
I did a little dance last night, appeasing the weather gods. Thor, in particular, was mightily impressed.
Was he?
Promised to back off with the thunder and lightning for a spell. And don't you know, he proposed to me. But I told him I'm not into gods. I prefer jazz musicians.
It's quite peaceful.
If no one was around, I'd strip naked. The earth would delight in my bare feet. The wind would savor playing with my hair.
Is that so?
I don't know, I just like being naked. But not when you're around, teddy bear.
What are you up to?
Delighting in the little things. They're like dew. My heart is the morning, and it's refreshed by their presence.
Where do these strange thoughts come from?
Oh, you're a funny egg, old bee.
What are you doing?
Looking for a white rabbit in a waistcoat. Have you seen him?
A white...
We'll follow him down the hole, Teddy. Or maybe we already did.
Alice in Wonderland, I see.
So wonderfully apt.
Have you seen anyone?
Not a single soul, alive or dead.
Have you seen anyone?
Not a single soul, alive or dead. How about we don't go back to Hanover and stay here instead?
And how would I survive?
Hunt? Harvest? Forage? People have survived here for centuries. Why can't we?
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
I could learn. I'd start with goats. Goats can be eaten and milked. Probably not in that order.
Fretland and Son.
How do you figure?
It's on the sign above the entrance. And on this photograph. Frederick and Simon Fretland. The older gentleman is clearly Mr. Fretland's twin brother.
Twins are confusing. If this was a dime novel, they'd be switching places at some point to confuse the coppers. Damn you, twins!
Simon Fretland. Frederick's son.
And Johann's nephew. See, I'm getting the hang of this. Simon. Simon. That was the name in the burnt book. So Simon is Ruth's older cousin.
Perhaps living here wouldn't be such a bad thing.
You changed your mind about the goats?
The fresh air might do me good.
And you'd be all right with it just being the two of us.
I'm no stranger to isolation.
Truer words have never been spoken, old fruit.
Have you seen anyone?
Not a single soul, alive or dead. Frederick Fretland and son.
Johann's brother and nephew.
The Fretlands have their fingers in all the pies, including the only store in town.
Also the post office and telegraph. There may be something that'll lead us to Betty in there.
Or at least to some canned sardines. We need to get you fed, old bean.
Have you seen anyone?
Not a single soul, alive or dead.
They had a memorial service for the accident in the mine. On July 24th, in the village church.
For something that happened 20 years ago?
It still affected their lives. The telegraph is out of order.
Well, there goes my plan. NOSOS.
This was 2 years ago, but the notice is still up.
How can it take 2 years to get something like that fixed?
If they couldn't afford it? Or couldn't get anyone to come fix it?
Well, this place really is off the map. Here be dragons. Or Draugens, I guess.
The ferry route is no longer operating.
Rats!
Mrs. Fretland already informed me in her letter.
I know. Still warrants a resounding rats.
I wonder why it stopped running.
Look around. How many people live here? 20? 30? That can't be enough for a ferry route.
Things got quieter after the mine closed down.
They need to move on and find something else to put their village on the map. Tobacco farming, maybe.
They must have been so isolated, with no easy way in or out.
Aren't there boats?
If they're like the boats along the beach, they wouldn't get far. You saw how much work it was to cross the fjord. And if the weather's bad...
Can't be healthy, being so isolated. Cooped up inside, reading the collected works.
Yeah, all right. I get
This
it.
village is basically you, Tom.
I said all right. The ferry would have made the trip here much easier.
And you wouldn't have had to pay that farmer a fortune to rent his boat.
I had no choice.
We should keep his boat, if it comes back. Bring it with us to Hanover.
Do what with it exactly?
I don't know. Grow parsley in it? Use it in the pond? Forget it. Stupid idea.
Have you seen anyone?
Not a single soul, alive or dead.
Applesauce.
Why lock any doors? I can't imagine they have a problem with punks and hoodlums.
The sign says they're closed, but I thought maybe... Hello? Are you open? Is anyone there?
Can't you just bust down the door? Locks be damned.
Breaking and entering, I will not. I'll just dislocate my shoulder. Is that? Lissy, come here. It's Betty's hat. She was here. She could still be in there. Betty? Betty!
Are you sure, Edward? I mean, it's just a hat. Is it even a hat? I'm not
I know
sure.
my sister's hat, Lissy. I have to get inside.
What about the breaking and entering part?
I could care less what they call it. I need to get inside. If Betty's in there...
Perhaps there's a back door. Or an open window.
Here's an open window.
You seem eager to break the law. I approve.
It won't budge.
Ah, don't be a milquetoast.
Well, it's stuck.
Attaboy, Teddy. You can do this.
I can't believe I'm actually breaking... Whoops, Daisy.
Oh my, Teddy. You're such a sap. Edward Charles Harding, dilettante, world traveler, cat burglar.
A cat burglar would, by definition, enter a building on a higher floor.
The state of this place.
Oh, Betty.
Edward,
I hope you weren't here when...
is this... blood?
Not necessarily human blood.
Well, that's all right then. What does it say? Barn murder? Someone murdered a barn?
Barn means child. And mortar, that's...
Child murderer. Edward, they murdered a child?
Someone thought so.
Probably the same someone who vandalized the store.
I'm not sure how I feel about being in here.
Don't be ridiculous. We're all alone. What else do you suggest we do?
I really did a number on this place.
Why would they do this to one of their own?
Anger and fear trump civility. Why would Frederick keep a list of what he calls traitors?
What did they do to him?
Cross him in some way. Why else keep a list of undesirables? It's the same photograph as in the farmhouse,
Johan's gone. At least, I assume he's the one who's been... snip.
Frederick clearly did not want anything to do with his twin brother. Damnation. The hat's in here.
Calm down, old boy. Anyway, how's a hat going to help us?
Who knows what else is in here? There could be more clues.
All right. Okay. Everything's Jake. We made it into the store. I'm sure we'll find a way through that door. What are you doing?
Looking for keys.
Your life of crime continues.
The keys are all gone.
Some thieving thieves beat you to it. Rascals.
There's a note.
Is it written in Viking runes? What does it say?
It's from Simon. Yai put it means I put. Knuckle is key. Casa. I don't know what that word means.
He put the key in the casa?
Casa. I wish I had my dictionary. The note's addressed to his father.
So the key was moved. But where to?
Somewhere safer. Or more convenient.
Can we really trust your translations? You only started studying a month ago.
I spent the summer reading, and I had a lot of free time on the ocean voyage.
Come on, how much could you possibly pick up in a few months?
You know my mind, it's a sponge. These were never sent.
How long have they been piling up?
I received Mrs. Fretland's letter in June, and they received my letter from July.
A couple of months. Perhaps the world forgot about Grovik.
Out of order.
Why hasn't it been fixed?
Perhaps there wasn't much demand for it anymore.
S-O...
Casa.
So that's what it means. Cash register. You're a genuine gangster now, old fruit. Don't worry. If you get busted, I'll come visit you in the big house. The Vandals weren't here for the money.
I think money was the last thing on their minds.
Wasn't there supposed to be a key?
Here it is. It is her hat.
Teddy, I'm not
Betty
sure
was
that's...
here, and not long ago.
Okay, but if that is her hat, what's it doing in a locked storeroom?
Another breadcrumb.
That's not an answer.
I know for sure she was here. That's what matters.
You know best, Edward. So, what now? If this is a breadcrumb, where's the next one?
There must be a reason her hat's in this room.
What's that?
A handwritten note.
I'm not blind. What does it say, you silly goose?
It's hard to read. I'm not sure my translation will be... Johann, you... Nectar. Refuse. You refuse to speak to me, so I write this letter instead. It's from Frederick Fretland to his brother. Simon did not... Bloody hell. Simon did not murder your Ruth. He was fond of his cousin.
Ruth? Ruth is the daughter of Anna and Johann, which means the little girl in the photograph at the farmhouse. Oh, Edward, the Fretland girl was murdered. This is simply awful.
Simon was working at the farm while I tended to the store. I would have seen him had he passed on the way up to the cliffs.
They thought Simon killed Ruth. His own cousin.
Ruth was... what's that word? Playing. Ruth was always playing on the rocks below the church. She must have fallen by accident. The note ends there. Frederick never finished it. And Johann never read it. Not that it would have made a difference. If Johann thought...
The mob showed up for Simon. His father would have tried to protect him.
September 17th. You would have been here, Betty.
Rocks below the church. Isn't the church right above us? Edward, come look at this. That's the cliff. Right there. The one in the note? I bet you 1,000,000 clams.
Where?
See for yourself.
I guess that could be where...
Let's check it out.
No, Lissy, wait.
I found it, Teddy. The cliff. I'm standing right below it.
What are you doing? This doesn't concern
A
us.
little girl died. We're staying in her home, for God's sake. Are you completely without heart? Get yourself up here, Edward Harden, right this minute.
Whoops-a-daisy. What is this?
Where little Ruth died.
You're being morbid. And this is a distraction. I'm here for Betty, not because some girl
Edward.
got herself...
You insensitive brute. You're like the Tin Woodman, no heart. You know, you've grown cold and mean in that horrid study of yours. With only books and bugs to keep you company for years and years and years. There are other people in this world, you know. It's not all about you. You're going to do this. If not for Ruth, then for us. We're going to figure out what happened to the poor girl. Together.
I've seen all there is to see. I'm going back.
You can't leave. We might have missed something important.
I've seen all there is to see. I'm going back.
You can't leave. We might have missed something important.
Pat's been here a while.
Didn't you say it happened over a month ago?
You'd think her family would have replaced it with fresh flowers. Something struck this bush. She must have landed on it when... on her way down.
That's ghastly, Edward.
It's a long fall. Far enough to crush the girl's skull.
Edward Charles Harden!
What?
Oh, you're hopeless. Is that blood?
The girl could have hit her head on that rock. There would have been plenty of blood.
That's awful. I think there's something behind it. Can you move the rock aside? It must be Ruth's.
Where's the head?
Maybe the killer also decapitates dolls.
Hold on. This pin. This is old. Very old. It looks like something from the Viking era.
We are in the land of Vikings.
This could be 1,000 years old. It does not belong in a child's doll.
Who cares? Ruth is dead and you're obsessing about a rusty old pin? Let's go further up. Maybe we'll find more clues. Come on, old sport. It's not far.
Can you wait just 1 minute so that I can catch my breath? Huh. Did you follow the same path, Betty? Or am I just stumbling through darkness?
You can see clear beyond the edge of the world. Right. It is awfully chilly.
One
Oh,
second.
Teddy bear. We need to take you out walking more often.
So, the girl fell from up here.
Was pushed, you mean? Can you see where she fell?
Certainly high enough to kill a child.
If I had to go, this would be the way to do it. Soaring through the air like a bird.
And landing like a rock. If she fell headfirst on that rock, she'd have died instantly.
Edward, honestly.
You wanted to learn more. This is you learning more. She hit her head and fell into the bush where I found her doll. Happy now, Alice?
I'm not. What was she doing up here in the first place?
Playing? She was a child. Children play in dangerous places.
There must be more to it. Let's find out where this path leads.
No, absolutely not. I don't have time for this nonsense. We're running out of daylight, and Betty's still... You're still out there. Lissy, slow down. I can't keep up with you. Who knows what's up there? It's not worth the risk of falling and breaking something. Lissy? Are you there?
Teddy,
My word. Look away, Lissy.
is this what happened to the villagers? They killed themselves?
It's one body. Let's not jump to conclusions.
What about those fresh graves at the church? There were at least half a dozen of them. Did everyone just die?
They're not necessarily
Oh,
connected.
come on. Ugh, this is just ghastly. What made him do this? How long has he been?
From the state of the body, perhaps a couple of weeks. It depends on temperature and humidity, of course.
What does that say?
God forgive me.
Don't suicides go to hell? Isn't that what your father said when
Stop.
your mother drowned
Don't.
herself? Sorry. Who was he? One of the Fretlanders?
It's not Johann or Frederick. And he's too old to be Simon.
Do you think this has something to do with Ruth? Maybe she came across the hanged man before she died, and it scared her. So she ran, and
This happened later.
there's some consolation in that, I guess. Maybe it's the killer. The guilt ate him up, and he offed himself.
That's just speculation with no basis in fact. There's nothing more to do here. I'm going back. Let the poor soul rest in peace.
Does it look like he's resting in peace? You're just going to leave him hanging? You're an insensitive brute.
I'm here for Betty. It's tragic, but really none of my concern.
Betty, Betty, Betty. Always just Betty. You don't care about anyone else. What if that was me up there? Would you care then? All you do is obsess over a scarf and a hat and ugh.
It's all I have of Betty.
Betty, there she is again. Edward, the hanged man, he's someone. No matter what he did or didn't do, he deserves respect. Would you please just do this one decent deed? If not for me, then for yourself. Or for your Betty. What are you doing? You can't just pull him down by his legs. Try loosening the noose.
I can't reach that far. I'm going to be sick. I can't do this.
Yes, you can. Teddy. Edward. I know you can. You've been through much worse. Where are the Fretlands, Edward?
It's been 2 days. If they're not back tonight,
They're not coming back.
perhaps they left after their daughter died.
Was murdered, you mean? Isn't that what we think happened? Penny for your thoughts?
Perhaps she fell by accident.
So you don't think it was murder?
It's difficult to say with any certainty. The boy could have pushed her.
You're really not helping.
Can we talk about this tomorrow? I'm sorry.
You're exhausted.
I buried a corpse today, Alice.
I know. I'm sorry. Why don't you sleep in the guest bedroom?
The couch is fine. The Fretlands could still come home.
All right. Just don't come crying to me if you wake up with a crick in your neck. I'll be up for a while, if you feel like talking. What did you find?
Someone tried to burn this.
Just like the book. Isn't that odd?
It's addressed to Mrs. Fretland. My dearest Anna. It's from her sister, Margaret. Frederick's wife. The two brothers married sisters, remember?
Yes, and it's adorable. Keep reading.
I really shouldn't.
Really? How else are we going to figure out what happened? Keep reading.
My dearest Anna, I miss you so very, very much. The baby is due soon, and I wish for our family to reunite before... It's been 7 years since the dreadful incident at the mine. Can we not convince Frederick and Johann to forgive and forget? I know there are things Frederick has not told me about what they found and why they parted ways. Their grudge is tearing us all apart. Frederick won't even let me speak to half of our neighbors, accusing them of treason. He's so very angry and full of regrets. It's eating him up. And we...
And we what?
The rest is unreadable.
Margaret reached out to her sister, but I guess it didn't work.
This was written before Simon was born, but burned recently.
It's almost painful to look at this photograph now. Their whole world fell apart. Ugh, I can't bear to think about it. Do you think Simon killed Ruth?
It's not important what I think.
I don't know what to believe. Sometimes children do monstrous things. Now that we know what happened to Ruth, this empty house is even spookier.
It's a house, nothing more.
You know better than most that souls can linger. Especially if they died
There's
in...
no such thing as a soul.
Life force. Ghost. Whatever. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
The only ghosts are in our minds.
Says you.
The two brothers married twin sisters, Anna and Margaret Taylor. That's the Grovik stave church behind them.
All those hopes and dreams, ground to dust by misfortune.
I almost forgot putting this aside when I lit the fire. Wasn't there an inscription inside?
Simon. Simon gave that book to Ruth. But who burned it?
Johann or Anna, if they believed Simon killed her.
But they were friendly, right? Simon and Ruth. Before...
I imagine so. And we know the sisters were close.
I still don't understand why the brothers had a falling out.
Whatever drove a wedge between them, it was big. Johann and Frederick Fretland. Thick as thieves, before things took a turn.
Don't you always say that much of our pain is self-chosen?
I wonder about that.
The mine must have been a big deal for Greywoke.
Grovik. An opportunity to do more than live hand to mouth.
What a blow it must have been to lose it all. It's the same photograph we saw in the store.
Except this one's whole.
So the brother who owns the store
Frederick.
was angry with Johann before Ruth. Because
of the mine. It all comes back to the mine. These headlines make more sense now. Johann sells his share, and the cave-in occurs shortly thereafter, killing 3 people.
Including the younger brother.
The investor pulls out, leaving Frederick with the bills.
Oh, I feel awful for everyone. Losing a brother, losing the business.
There were no happy endings here.
You do look exhausted. Go to bed, Edward. I'll tuck you in. One of these days, you're going to fall right through a mirror into the world beyond. There's no coming back from that. What are you doing?
Betty will want these back.
I don't think it's healthy
Not now, please. I'm exhausted.
Quite the day, huh?
I'm ready to pass out. Where will you sleep?
I'll be up for a while. My mind's simply racing.
Don't stay up late. Wake me if you hear the Fretlands arriving.
Of course. And I'll keep my eyes open for any ghosts that might want to haunt you in your sleep.
There are no...
Hush now. Sleep.
Alice?
I'm upstairs.
Lissy?
Upstairs. Teddy? Is that you?
Lissy?
Right up the stairs, Teddy. This is her room. Are you paying attention? Ruth. Can you imagine? One moment you're living a perfectly happy life, and then... nothing. Darkness. Forever and ever. Maybe there's something here that can tell us what happened to her.
This is a waste of my time.
We might be the only ones left to tell her story, Edward.
You're just being melodramatic. I'll help you look. There's still no sign of the Fretlands.
Maybe they left town after Ruth died.
What's the point of this? I should be looking for Betty.
I hate you sometimes.
What am I looking for?
Anything out of the ordinary. Something that could explain what happened to Ruth.
This is real life, not a whodunit by Agatha Christie. There won't be a convenient series of clues leading to a tidy conclusion.
Says you.
This is a waste of time.
Edward, you horrid man! Sorry. Please stay. I can't stand the thought of Ruth tossed aside because you're too busy to care. Ruth was an artist.
This is very primitive.
Have you ever met a child, Edward? She wasn't Monet, she was 8. This must be the village church. That's Ruth and her family on one side of the aisle, Simon and his father on the other.
A community divided.
She found something.
Where's that supposed to be?
A cave. Or the...
Mine. It could be. But what did she find?
something important enough to draw. That must be Ruth and Simon's fathers.
Perhaps. They weren't on the best of terms.
They look like they want to kill each other.
To a child, maybe it looked worse than it was.
Children are more insightful than you give them credit for, Teddy Bear. She made her bed that morning. Before she...
Or her parents did. It doesn't matter. It tells us nothing.
Why are you like this today? Betty's not the only person in the world that matters.
She matters the most to me.
Ain't that the truth?
Draugen.
Hey, the undead monster from those folk tales you read.
What an odd book for a child to have.
I don't know. Children love scary stories. This looks interesting. Read some of it to me, please.
In Norwegian folklore, the appearance of Draugen, the reanimated corpse of a drowned mariner, heralds death. Draugen haunts the Black Seas in a shattered boat. The beast has a man's body and wears a sou'wester. But instead of a head, there is tangled seaweed, and the revenant's chilling cry freezes mortal blood to ice. Draugen has the power to enter the dreams of the living. If you wake from such a dream, you have been spared, though someone close to you... That's enough of that. It's nonsense, of course. Not something a child should be reading.
Do you think Draugen took our boat? Maybe he's out there, on the fjord, waiting for nightfall so he can return to shore.
No.
And... Your soul lacks poetry, Edward Charles Harden. I pity you. Ruth never finished this. What does that spell? F-O-R-B.
For Banelson. The curse.
Who's that figure supposed to be? It's creepy. It looks a bit like the Draugen in her book.
A figment of her imagination. But the box she drew... It looks like this box under her desk.
Really? Let me see. Pull it out. What is this?
I believe this might qualify as actual treasure.
Is that Norwegian money?
Sort of, but ancient. Viking coins.
Are they valuable?
Not in terms of monetary value, but historically. Well, they belong in a museum.
Looks like Ruth had her own private museum.
Why would a child have these artifacts?
She must have enjoyed collecting and playing with them.
These are much too precious to play with. She should have given these to an adult.
She was a child, Edward. To her, they were just shiny toys. Wait! The pin! On the doll!
This is where it came from, her collection.
But where did she find these treasures?
If we're to believe her drawing, perhaps the mine. She may have found a gravesite. Wherever she found them, she wanted to keep them hidden.
You think someone found out?
These items wouldn't necessarily be worth much, except to a historian or archaeologist.
What if this is how... I mean, if someone learned she'd been collecting treasures, they might be willing to do terrible things. There's a story here. The treasure box, the drawings.
The overactive mind of an imaginative child.
She didn't imagine the Viking artifacts. You shouldn't be so dismissive. The drawings could be her way of dealing with traumatic events.
This is what happens when I read you the principles of psychology. You get notions.
You say that like it's a bad thing. Ruth was troubled. The village was troubled, and... Is that a bell?
The church bell. Someone's here. Maybe... Betty,
Why would Betty ring the church bell?
Perhaps she's in trouble. I need to get to the church right now.
Wait, isn't it more likely to be the person you saw the other night? We should be careful.
I told you, I'm not sure that was anything. Come on.
Go ahead. I'll catch up with you before you get there. I need a minute to think about all of this. Do you see anyone?
They must be inside the church. Are you coming?
In a minute. You go on ahead.
Where are you?
In here.
July 24th, memorial service. A commemoration of the accident at the mine this past summer. No services after that.
All these fresh graves. Do you think that maybe
No.
Betty...
I'd know.
But...
You wouldn't understand. Elizabeth and I, we have a bond.
God, Edward. Your obsession with her is really starting to grate.
No one's touched these since yesterday. Regardless of how they got past the boards, there's someone in there.
Who did this?
Someone who'd lost their faith.
Gone fishing?
God is not here.
Well, of course he isn't. You won't find God in a church. God is the wind in the trees, the grass between your toes, the brook that runs
That's
through.
nature, not God.
Can you peek through the boards? See anyone?
No,
Listen! The bell! They're still in there!
Hello? I heard the bell!
This is giving me
I'm
the
here to help.
heebie-jeebies.
These boards look flimsy enough to break.
Look at that. The Ethel becomes an Edward. I didn't think you had it in you, old fruit.
Be quiet. Betty? Are you here? Hello? This is Edward Harden. I'm looking for my sister,
Stop
Elizabeth.
shouting, Edward. We're alone. There are only ghosts here.
There are no ghosts.
I don't know about that. What's this rope for?
The bell.
This is the bell we heard ringing?
I don't see any other bells.
So you have to stand here and pull this rope to ring it.
Yes.
But there was no one here. You didn't see anyone, right?
No, no one.
Ghosts. I'm telling you, it's ghosts. So what happened to the hunchback of Grovik?
They must be here still. There's only the one exit.
Maybe it was the wind.
A church bell's too heavy. It can't have been the wind. I mean... I don't know. Maybe it was the wind. There's no one here.
I don't like that sound. Please stop. Stop it.
Lissy, look. Betty's gloves. They are definitely Betty's.
Oh, for
She got
Pete's
these
sake.
in Boston before she left for New York. She bought them at Woolworth. I remember the day she... She's here.
Where? And why would she leave her clothes lying around? It doesn't make
Breadcrumbs.
sense.
She's sending me a message. She knew I'd recognize her gloves, her hat. She's left a trail for me to follow, like Ariadne's red thread.
We're not in a labyrinth.
Betty will have left more crumbs.
Betty, you're turning into such a pill. What happened here?
The sign on the door. God is not here. Their faith was challenged, and it didn't survive.
What's that?
The last sermon that was held here.
What does it say?
The vicar's handwriting is hard to decipher, and the language. He talks about the village being divided for 20 years. This sermon was held on the anniversary of the accident this past summer. He's asking the congregation to help heal old wounds, to forgive, and move on. Something to the effect of, you sit in separate aisles in God's house.
Like Ruth's drawing. I told you, she was perceptive.
It sounds like Grovik was split in two, between those who stood by Johann and those who supported Frederick.
Because of Ruth?
The sermon is from before that. No, this is all about the preceding 20 years of division and disagreements. Tilly Verandra.
Edward?
Forgive each other. It addresses Johann and Frederick directly, but I wonder if they were even here.
Remember the wedding picture? They were close friends once. How could they allow their grudge to escalate until...
You call each other traitors, but the only thing you've betrayed are the bonds that unite us. Here's something else. Many of you believe Grovik was cursed 20 years ago. God has not cursed you. This curse is of your own making.
Ruth's drawing mentioned a curse. What do you think that means?
It means they believed they were cursed, and that they needed something or someone to blame for their misfortune. That bell still bothers me.
Didn't you say it was the wind?
I guess it could have been the wind.
Once you eliminate the impossible, etc., etc.
What are you doing? We're in a church.
I thought you didn't believe in God.
I do believe in civility.
The final dinner.
The Last Supper. Who taught you about the New Testament?
I pick up on things. Most folks aren't heathens, like you.
They considered this a sacred place. For them to destroy it. This was an act of desperation and anger.
Isn't this a fire hazard?
They're not always lit. Each candle represents a single prayer.
That's a lot of prayers.
There were a lot of deaths.
I've never seen you read the Bible before.
I've read the Bible many times. It's an important historical document.
Jesus looks sad.
What reason would Jesus have to be happy?
Don't be blasphemous.
Given that this is all fiction, blasphemy is a contradiction.
Heretic.
For he is our peace, who hath made both one, and hath broken down the middle wall of partition between us.
Did you just translate that into Old English?
I happen to know the verse by heart.
You still manage to surprise me sometimes.
The church book, a record of births and deaths.
So we can find out what happened to the people in the village?
And, Elizabeth. I mean, if she was dead...
Her name would be in the book.
Vandals. Tore it to pieces.
I don't think the missing pages left the church. Look. How many pages are missing?
I counted 4.
They're probably all still here. I know. Let's make it a competition. 1-0 to Team Me. I wanted you to find that one. I know what a rotten loser you are. Found another one. You get it. It's right here. Just one more page missing. Two for two. A tie. Good job, Teddy. Old
Stop,
bean.
Lissy. This is not a game. Betty's out there.
Of horse feathers. Stop being so gosh darn tedious, Edward. Bitty, bitty, bitty. Will you ever shut up about your precious Betty? Put those pages back in the book, and I'll stop trying to cheer you up.
This book goes back years. It lists births and deaths. Here's the 3rd Fretland brother. The one who died in the cave-in. Someone added the word for Banelson, probably quite recently.
What does that mean again?
Curse. That word is all over this book. Not just the men who died in the mine, but other deaths in the last 20 years.
Ruth's drawing and the sermon both mentioned a curse. What do you think it means?
I don't know. There were surprisingly few births.
Perhaps they blame that on the curse as well.
Look here. Ruth Elsa Fretland. She was buried in the cemetery. And the next entry, Simon Fretland. Now this is interesting.
Simon is dead? Oh, that's dreadful.
He drowned the day after Ruth died. Probably no coincidence. See what's scribbled next to it?
Mord?
Murder.
Who killed him? Ruth's father? Or the mob that trashed the store?
It doesn't say. After the children, a half-dozen deaths in a single week.
The curse.
It's listed as the cause for every single death.
Maybe there really was a curse.
Primitive superstition. But something changed after Ruth and Simon. It might explain why there's no one around.
Edward, if it killed everyone, how's that not a curse? What does that word say? Next to those names at the bottom.
Traitor.
Edward? What's wrong?
The final entry. There's no name. Alice, What if...
Oh, Edward, no.
Betty,
It doesn't mean she's...
she's not dead. She can't be. I know. I know.
Teddy.
I need to see the grave for myself. It's not Betty. Betty's still alive.
Teddy? Where are you going? Don't leave me! Edward!
You better not be here, Betty. I'll never forgive you. This one. It's unmarked.
What are you doing? Have you gone completely mad? Edward, stop it!
Thank God. It's not her. It's not Betty. It's not her.
Oh, Edward. What have you done?
It's not Elizabeth. I was so afraid.
You're a monster.
But I had to be sure. If Betty...
To hell with your Betty! When did she ever shed a tear for you?
Don't talk about my baby sister
Or
like
what?
that.
Or what, Edward? What will you do? Ignore us? Banish us? You've spent your entire life chasing her. When are you going to do something useful with what's left of it?
Quiet! Just leave me be.
Fine.
Lizzie? Alice? Come back. Don't leave me alone. Please. Come back. I need you. I was afraid you'd left me. Now listen to me. No! Lizzie. Hey. Lizzie, please listen to me. I didn't mean what I said.
Of course you meant it. Everything's always about Betty. Betty, Betty.
I care about you both.
Until it really matters. Then it's obvious who matters more.
I thought she was dead.
I wish she was!
Don't.
You deserve to be alone.
Please, talk to me.
What's there to talk about?
You can't keep running away from me.
You think you own me? That you control me? That you get to decide how I feel and what I do every minute of every day? That I'm your puppet, your little plaything? Well, fuck you, Edward Charles Harden! I never should have come here with you on this pointless chase!
Now, be reasonable. Lizzie? Alice? No! What are you doing?
What I should have done years ago. Maybe now you'll learn to appreciate us.
Now listen to me. Please, listen. Hear me out. Don't do this. You can't do this to me. I need you. I'm not whole without you. I can't lose you. I can't live without you. Don't, please, don't, no. What? No! Oh, Alice. What have you done? Please, be all right. Please don't.
You make me sick, Edward. Your mother and father would be ashamed. Elizabeth would be ashamed. They did not think you deserved their love, so they abandoned you.
Don't.
Oh, my child. We are all that you have, and we love you. We are here. With us, you are never alone. Do not forget.
No, never. Never. I never forget. I am never alone.
Wake up, Edward. Stop hiding.